Hello Machinima Respawn, Loomer here again, back with the second episode of Templar Training, which is my strategy series on Assassin's Creed multiplayer. So in the last episode I showed you how you could find your target in the crowd without using any abilities. But this time we're going to take a look at some of the abilities in the game and certain ways you can use them to find your target. So let's dive right into it. We'll start by taking a look at Mute actually. So, Mute is an ability that prevents your target or pursuer from using their abilities. They can't stun or kill you either. So it's usually used kind of defensively as a way to disable and stun your pursuer. But in Revelations it comes with a little something extra too. Whenever you mute your pursuer or your target, they'll faintly glow with kind of a blue or green animus effect over their body. This means that if you come across a situation where you don't know which person your target is, all you have to do is hit your mute and then look at which person glows with the blue animus effect, which as I slow this down you should be able to see pretty easily. So just make sure you act really quickly once you see who it is, because the mute only disables them for a little more than a second. Next, let's talk about Morph. So, Morph is used to turn the crowd into your persona, but it doesn't affect the other players that are in the match. So this means that you can use it on the crowd that your target is hiding in, and whoever doesn't change to look like you is your target. Now, you have to get pretty close to your target in order to do this, so by the time you morph and try to kill your target, chances are you'll have been stunned and maybe even taunted for good measure. So, in order to get around this, a good way to prevent this is to combine this with a smoke bomb, which should give you enough time to use your morph and kill your target without getting stunned. You can also throw the smoke bomb, which is even safer than dropping it in order to pull off this trick as well. Now the thing about using smoke with morph though, is that now you're using two abilities just to find your target, and so you might want to think about whether or not that's really the most efficient way to find your target, considering your playstyle. Enter Templar Vision. Now if you played the single player, this should look very familiar to you. I'm going to pause this screen. Now once you activate it, your target glows blue, your pursuer glows red, and all the other players will glow white. Now the biggest drawback to Templar Vision is that while it's active, it also makes you glow white for everybody else to see, which in most situations is a surefire way to get stunned. So let's look at some ways to work around this drawback. The first thing you can do is to use Templar Vision from the roof. So your target still might see you use it, but they won't be able to really do much about it besides run away, and it will keep you safe from being stunned. You can also use Templar Vision from around the corner of your target while swinging your camera around. Your character doesn't need to be in line of sight in order for Templar Vision to work. It's all about what you can adjust the camera into letting you see. Finally, if you use Templar Vision from inside a hay bale, nobody will see you glow. Of course now, jumping in and out of a hay bale in and of itself can be a pretty big giveaway, so try to do it when your target isn't looking or doesn't have time to react to it. Next up is Firecrackers. Once you drop Firecrackers, all the NPCs will cower in fear, while the players will remain standing, letting you easily find your target. You can also throw the Firecrackers by holding down the ability button, which is a lot safer and can help you avoid defensive abilities, but it also might make your target run away, so be careful how you use them. Finally, if you stand on the edge of a roof, when you drop your Firecrackers, they'll land directly on the ground below, although you could just as easily throw the Firecrackers from this position as well. Next, let's look at Charge. Once you know the general area that your target is in, all you have to do is just face it and hit the charge button. You'll automatically run in and kill the correct target. It's a pretty brain-dead ability. Now the thing about Charge is that the running actually drains your approach meter in the upper right corner of the screen. Notice that how I start out at incognito but end up at discreet for the final kill. Now because of this, you're better off using Charge from as short of a safe distance as possible, which will also give your target less time to react. Finally, there is a trick with the gun that occasionally works. As my clanmate Azzy will demonstrate, when someone aims the gun at you, there's a very distinctive sound that plays. So sometimes if you aim the gun at a persona, you'll know that it's the right person because they'll hear the sound and panic and try to run away. Now it's important to note that since this is a psychological trick, it doesn't work all of the time. In fact, I'd say it probably doesn't even work most of the time, and there's honestly not a whole lot of situations where you should be carrying around the gun in the first place. That covers all the abilities. In addition to those, there is one perk and one lost streak worth talking about. The Blender perk is basically a passive morph that only affects one person. So if there are only 2 people in a blend group, you can use Blender to find your target the same way you would Morph. Although again, it's very risky to do without using something like a smoke bomb. Finally, there's the tracker lost streak. If you lose 5 contracts in a row with this equipped, your target will leave a trail of glowing arrows behind them, and your target themselves will also be glowing faintly. Now, it's worth noting that a lot of the more advanced players forgo these types of abilities because they don't need them to find their targets, although it can vary based on the player and the game mode. If you're just starting out though, these can really help you have something to fall back on while you hone your skills. That wraps up this episode of Templar Training. Next time I'll show you how you can maximize the points on each of your kills by using the environment around you. See you next time.